Empires of the Undergrowth's basic ideas are not very complex. Make soldiers and make workers to respawn the soldiers. It's very robust. Workers only flipped this on its head. Using my food for workers instead of soldiers increased the difficulty, more for some levels than others. Now, how else can Empires of the Undergrowth be played wrong? What if I didn't connect any tiles? Oh yeah, this'll work. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to No Tiles Connected. This is a special challenge I thought of, and here are the rules. Aside from the queen chambers, no tiles may be connected. Connected means they are touching a tile of the same type. On the front line, I must delete the tiles I start with until they are not connected. This run will be completed on Insane. Without further ado, let's dive into New Home. Starting with New Home, I can already see how horrible this challenge is going to be. Nest layout is frustrating, and upgrades are a dream I can never have. There is no possible way to get level 3 tiles. Our objective is to clear all underground enemies. In the beginning, I dig out as much as I can and try and build some soldiers before fighting the first beetle groups. I clear the first beetles and start to place all my soldiers in the furthermost groups. This was my one and only strategy going into this challenge. This is important because using all 5 markers is essential when we cannot upgrade. When a pheromone marker is placed down, ants will switch from where they are to the new marker at a constant rate. That does not scale as more ants are put into the group. Using all 5 markers allows ants to move around much faster. Putting my ants in the 5th marker first and working my way down to the 1st is important because of how this challenge breaks my controls. After I reach a critical mass, I won't be able to manipulate which groups the ants are in. Once I place them in the groups, they're essentially locked in. You may also notice through this challenge I better learn how to organize my nest and pheromone groups as the challenge progresses, so that my army and nest can work somewhat normally. In New Home, I knew none of these tricks. So, I sort of just flopped around. I continued clearing through the level, attempting surround tactics and attack switching, basic New Home things. I had food stored for the final wave and was ready to open the chamber. With the food I stored and soldiers I created, the final wave was no match for me. Now, on to Subjugation. Subjugation is not super difficult, but not the most pleasant experience. Not connecting tiles takes up absurd amounts of space, leaving my nest looking worse than ever. The objective is super unique. I must survive attack waves of increasing intensity from an ant colony while growing my population. I start by building some soldiers and killing the first funnel of spider. This marks the beginning of quick and vicious slave maker attacks, and I must be fast. By being fast, I'm able to clear spider after spider while defending attack waves. There isn't a lot else to talk about here. I was quick, my nest looked horrible, but in the end, this level is never that hard. Welcome to the first Formicarium challenge. Our objective is super unique. I must defend my nest from attack waves of increasing intensity. In the Formicarium, things are worse than ever. I can only dig as many territory points as I have, limiting my colony size and food storage. At this point in the challenge, I hadn't learned about the advanced no tiles connected food storage, so I was severely lacking in food stores. I began the challenge with nothing but a few dozen level 1 black ants with meat wall. I was severely lacking in damage during the sustained flow. I couldn't keep up and was overwhelmed. Next, I tried giving my workers aggressive brood and having some fight with the soldiers. This performed slightly better, but I still fell short during the sustained attack. I then gave up and went to farm jelly to purchase the Royal Decree upgrade. This upgrade will trigger when my queen is attacked and cause all my nursery tiles to spawn for free and receive eggs for free. This ended up being barely enough. Royal Decree triggered on the final wave of enemies, and my black ants cleared up the invaders. Welcome to Rising Tide. Our objective is super unique. We must defend our nest from creature attacks of increasing intensity while growing our population. This was the first level with which I figured out how to make the space-efficient food storage, allowing my food stores to reach normal amounts. Starting out, I must use my precious early game time to dig out an area to begin building workers. After building some and collecting some free food, I headed out to gather on the beach. To my astonishment, the tide was already rising. I must have spent too much time digging. Regardless of this, I get as much food as I can and then begin to clear underground food. Because of this, I can manage to have a decent number of rapid fire and workers by the night. The invading crabs don't stand well against the high DPS of the rapid fire. Even the attack of the 7 crabs fall easily. During the next day, I have enough ants to kill the tiger beetles at a rapid rate. I focus less on finding free food and focus more on slaying the tiger beetles for huge boosts in food. By the start of the next night, my nest is looking healthy with lots of food in store and plenty of soldiers. This is also where I learned that a nest design like this is perfect for killing spiders. The open space allows my ants to surround and execute effectively. All 3 spider waves invade and are quickly taken apart, so I head outside to clean up the crabs and spiders on the surface for food. By the next day, I have more food than I know what to do with, and accidentally messed up, unallowing me to use my pheromone groups anymore. This may seem bad, but I now have a permanent Queen's Guard. When night falls, I have loads of food and a jacked up nest. Spider wave easily taken care of. Crab wave easily taken, but it took a while. Upon the mother spiders invading, there were still a few crabs in the nest. Regardless, the spiderlings were killed with ease, and I secured victory. Welcome to Queen of the Hill. Our objective is super unique. We must defend from ant attacks of increasing intensity while growing our population. This was the first level I was seriously worried about, as it's the only level in the whole campaign where upgrading is a key part of the winning strategy. The current insane strategy for this level is to get level 3 mortar ants as soon as possible and abuse how ants enter the nest to get huge splash damage value. I can't upgrade, so I opt to use rapid fire because of their higher DPS. I have never played Queen of the Hill without mortar ants, but I was looking forward to using rapid fire and their higher damage per second. I started out the level like I normally would. Make some workers, send them outside for some food. I use the honeydew and create soldiers to fight off the first attack waves. With the first couple attacks dealt with, I need to prepare for the much larger attacks the following day. During the night, my soldiers fight viciously on both aphid farms. They weren't always doing a great job, and because of this, I had less aphids than I'd like to have by morning. By now, I have a very good understanding of how to create good nests without connecting tiles, allowing for some decent food storage. My peaceful honeydew collection is soon put to an end by the first black ant wave, and it is absurd. The attack waves are huge, and it already feels like I'm dead. The black ants invade my nest, and I'm alive? Huh. Not only that, but I barely suffered any losses. This is arguably better than the mortars. As the wood ant wave invades, they're crushed as well. The much larger waves then follow, and although they are intimidating, rapid fire pull through once more. The following night, I abandoned the aphid farms in favor of underground food. Before the night is over, be sure to kill all the surface creatures for a huge boost in food. Much of the same follows in the next day and nights. Big attack waves enter, and my rapid fire clean them up, with some food losses. On the final day, I have an absurd amount of ants and food stored. Although some of the larger waves take a long time to kill, they could not stand up to rapid fire. As they enter the nest, they're slowly taken apart, one by one, and I secure victory. Welcome to the second Formicarium challenge. Our objective is super unique. We must survive against ant and creature attacks of increasing intensity. This level is a prime example of how absurdly strong rapid fire is. After picking up the rapid fire ants and the increased venom damage ability, they output seriously high DPS despite just being level 1. I first try this level with ease even on insane. Welcome to the harvest. Our objective is to reach 14,000 leaves before the opposing colony. My understanding of nest designs had fully matured at this point, and I knew how to make the best nest design for no tiles connected. Using this knowledge, I could build special tunnels that allowed me to put a speed tile in between refuse tiles. This allowed me to upgrade all the refuse tiles and didn't connect any of them. Upgrading these refuse tiles goes from 10 refuse storage to 40. The same can be applied to leaf and food stores, going from 10 to 40 using a similar method. Using this knowledge, I could make an efficient leaf store and refuse store that was out of the way as opposed to the scattered refuse tiles all over that would make my ants sick. Starting out in the level, I tunnel outside and begin leaf collection as quickly as possible. The start is slow, but starting slow is better than not starting at all. I keep adding on workers, but I quickly run out of nest space, and force myself to begin media production. Luckily, I was smart with my nest groups and managed to secure Group 5 as my worker group. After I created some media, foraging to the west could begin. The cricket there doesn't cause nearly as many issues as I thought, and I'm free to harvest wherever I please. In the morning, the north is mostly unguarded, leaving it free to harvest. The enemy colony then decides to head south, so I stand to fight them. They are pushed back, I grab some leaves, and get out of there. Around this time, I begin to make majors. My nest has almost reached a critical mass, but I planned ahead, and although I couldn't change my groups now, they are as follows. Group 5 is workers, groups 2 to 4 are media, group 1 is majors. At this point, I've far passed the enemy, and all my food is being put into more majors. I move about the rainforest and harvest what I please. Most importantly, I fight what I please. If the enemy colony is where I am, then I'll fight them off and be the only one left. Finally, after workers only, this feels so good. Nothing can stop me as I harvest around. I soon crush the opponent attack waves and secure my victory. Welcome to Frontline. Our objective is to push the army ants back. In Frontline, we start with 7 additional workers and media. These tiles are connected, so I have to get rid of them. But why do we start with these tiles? A long time ago, Frontline used to be difficult. Very difficult. You did not start with media or workers. Media were weaker than they are now, and enemy spawns were crazy. Part of the balance included giving media an increase in power and giving the player extra starting tiles. We have to throw away most of these starting tiles because they're connected. Due to this, our start is sluggishly slow. I start with a mere 8 workers and 1 media, as opposed to 14 workers and 7 media. I begin by deleting the tiles and making leaf stores. As soon as I have my nest organized, I guess I forgot which challenge I was trying. I had my leaf stores connected. I reset and made a proper nest design this time. When the army ants arrive, I have far less than I should have. Normally I can begin fighting the army on day 1, but in this challenge, I lack the ant count. I keep collecting through the next day. On the next day, I defend my nest territory and begin pushing the army back. Nothing super eventful. The following night, the Titan whip spider comes straight to my nest before promptly dying. Big Whippy is long due for a boost in strength, but as of now, she's still a joke. I keep pushing through the following days, having a constant tug-of-war with the army ants, but leafcutters are always superior. And through time, I secure my victory without too much trouble. Welcome to the third Formicarium challenge. Our objective is to kill the counterpart queen. This is the first Formicarium I can create a fish and food storage. I didn't use this method for my ants. Yet. So my ants are all still level 1. Not to mention this is arguably the most difficult level in the campaign. This is the biggest issue I have. I am expected to defeat the counterpart colony and their level 3 army ant majors using nothing but level 1 ants. I pick up the stun major and the shockproof plus defensive upgrades. Now my favorite Formicarium build is complete. Rapid fire in the back with corrosive and minor improvements in attack speed outputs serious DPS. Black ants with meat wall and 3 armor already take far reduced damage from enemies. But pair that with leafcutter majors and my black ants are almost completely immune to attacks. Meat wall gives them 50% resistance, defensive gives an additional 30%, making 80% resistance. To top this off, all the damage after 80% is reduced by 3. To place this into perspective, a level 3 army ant with max flash buff does 55 damage per attack. One of these jacked up black ants will take a mere 8 damage. These black ants can take a whole 7 hits instead of being killed in 1 attack. I also chose stun majors over taunt majors, because taunt does not work with this build. Taunt majors would pull the aggro and get themselves killed, disabling the defensive aura. After using all my territory points and food, I couldn't reach the population cap. Regardless, I start the challenge on Insane. The counterpart colony groups up and attacks, but I can stave them off. The enemy got clever and lured me into the tube. When we battled there, the scientist spawned several mantis that rushed into my nest. This triggered my royal decree, something I was not glad about. Soon, however, the enemy's food stores are depleted. I carelessly rush into the nest to kill the queen, but the royal guard cleans me up. By the time I've regrouped, the scientist delivers food drops to the enemy. They fill their food stores and strike back. I lack the food and queen triggers to defend, get overwhelmed, and lose. After farming some territory points and food points, I increased my food store and reached the population cap. This is probably the only time I've ever actually chosen the more territory option at the end of a level. With my nest more prepared and a solid plan in mind, I begin the challenge once again. This time, I rush the counterpart colony and enter their nest. They cannot break the line I hold until their army ants arrive. I drain nearly half their food stores before I'm cleaned up. I regroup back in my Formicarium and wait for the enemies to arrive. Once they show up, I hold the line while beating them back. I rinse and repeat until they are out of food. I then rush all my ants into their nest to hide from the scientist's hand, and then order most of my ants to leave the nest, with the exception of my black ants. Send the black ants in and trigger the enemy royal guard. The black ants will die, but they are merely a small fraction of your army. Once the enemy regroups, they will attempt it and leave the nest. If you're camping right to the west of their nest exit, the ants leaving their nest will become caught on each other, only allowing a small percentage of them to fight at a time. I drain the rest of their food, rush into the nest, kill the queen, and secure victory. Welcome to Cold Blood. Our objective is to kill the massive bullfrog and then survive an amphibian attack wave. I was not too keen on restarting over and over to get the perfect aphid collection luck. So instead I opted to collect what aphids I could and play it out from there. I figured this would work as I find Cold Blood to be an easy level anyway. First thing I do is build some workers and send my original 7 to collect the big-headed ant aphids. With some good luck, I managed to escape with the hard-to-reach little black-head aphids and the big-headed ant aphids. Now my time consists of waiting at home for aphid juice to finish. I wait for nightfall with little commotion. Once night begins, however, my ants have some jobs to do. I send the super soldiers out to collect the caterpillars and kill all the bombardier beetles. I soon run into the issue of too much food. Fire ant tiles are cheap, and I don't have the space to place tiles down. And I need my soldiers at home to help clear out space being blocked by creatures. The problem with this is that my time to collect food is short. I have to collect it while I still can during the night. I try my best to spend what food I can, but soon I have to pull back and clear the underground. Space continues to be an issue, but nonetheless I press onward. At the beginning of day 2, I begin the eviction process. The little black ants stood no chance against my swarm. Once I attacked the big-headed ants, they are supposed to hatch a super major. I keep pressing forward in anticipation of this major, but it never shows up. It turns out that I was killing ants fast enough to cause the super soldier to guard the queen. The lone soldier fought valiantly, but fell, just like the queen did. The remainder of the day consists of digging, collecting food, and growing the colony. On the following day, I begin the attack on the bullfrog. Even though my nest is full and the number of ants is mediocre at best, I still easily possess the strength to overwhelm the bullfrog. The amphibian attack wave soon follows, and is easily taken apart, due to it only being day 3. Welcome to A Bridge Too Far. Our objective is super unique. We must defend from creature attacks while growing our population. In the early game, I can use many of the same strategies from the speedrun for a powerful start. Collecting food in a set order helps to boost my growth, but things quickly slow down when I run out of space. This caused me to worry. In A Bridge Too Far, the number of ants required to win is absurd. I was now concerned I may not have enough space in the nest to win without connecting tiles. Nonetheless, I kept pressing onward. The first of many attacks arrived and was cleaned up with ease. I made my way to the southern aphids while collecting the food and clearing space with the workers. Grab the aphids, grab the caterpillars, and retreat. This is where I differ from the speedrun strategy. By now I'm meant to have 50 or so soldiers, and then I go southwest to clear the frogs and collect the aphids. Instead, I clear underground food until morning. When it is morning, I head south for some aphids and caterpillars. A red velvet ant tries to cause trouble, but it's nothing much. Next, I go north, and then east. After clearing the east, I can collect all the food from there and wait at home, clean up the attack wave, and must make a choice. Normally now in the speedrun, I'd be preparing to invade the little black ants, but I lack the ants to do so. I decide to, instead, focus on clearing underground food as well as getting some aphids from the offshoot path on the way to the little black ants. The great blue skimmer lands from the sky, and I waste no time before challenging it. I manage to drain her stamina, but not before she drained my food. Making use of the newts on the low ground, I collect the food I need to overwhelm the dragonfly. On the next day, more creature clearing and food collection follows. The attack wave is cleaned up with ease. By this point, I am running out of time and space. My nest looks horrible. Just look at this. This is my nest. It is now night 3, and I decide to invade the little black ants. I invade, collect most of the food, and get out as quickly as I can. Now for the space problem. My nest is nearly completely dug out, and I've filled most of the tiles with soldiers and workers. I still need a little more food before I win, which brings me to day 4. After collecting the pine cone, I have a constant struggle with the heaps of creatures, fighting for the food to respawn my soldiers. Once I finally break their lines, the dead creatures are butchered and carried back to the nest. By this point, I am merely a handful of ants away from victory, but my nest is full. My remaining time is spent searching for any space to fit a tile where it will not connect with another one. Soon, I barely squeeze out enough soldier tiles to win, with just a few places to spare. Welcome to the 4th Formicarium Challenge. Our objective is to defeat hybrid creatures within a time limit. I knew beforehand that this challenge would be rather difficult, and I was right. Incredibly high DPS is necessary, with the Titan's ridiculous health bar and insane. I employed this special nest design to allow all my ants to be level 2, finally. The initial plan was to have a handful of majors and everything else to be rapid fire. I was unable to reach the population limit at first, so I farmed some food to do so. With a full food store and max population, I began the challenge. I failed. And I failed again. And again. And again. This one was close, but I failed again. Things would go fine until the hybrid starts stinging, and then it always falls apart. I grinded a little more food, increasing my food stores, and maxed out the rest of my rapid fire ants. Still, no dice. I could try over and over again, each outcome slightly differently. After trying for hours, I was nearly about to give up and try lower difficulty. As I was trying hard, which was way too easy, I had an idea. I was not giving up. Not today. I replaced about 30 of my rapid fire tiles with fire ants. I gave them sure-footed, last laugh, and level 2. It turns out, fire ants mounted on a Titan do crazy damage with sure-footed, and they boost the damage of all the rapid fires on the ground. With this new strategy, I could output much higher damage. Once the shell cracks open, I can enable Titan climbing and put on their hurt. Limited time left, the Hermit Scorpion is defeated. The twins are inconsistent, however. I do my best to kite them together, but their positioning is not where I'd like it to be. I cannot distract the right Titan, so the left takes critical damage. Once again, I have them fight, but I get the right Titan in a good position this time. Even better, the left Titan has a position where it can eat the occasional fire ant, allowing it to regain health. With this perfect positioning, the right Titan falls and the left follows soon after. The Dragantula follows. I am experienced in this fight, allowing me to dodge its attacks with ease. The high damage of rapid fire and fire ants gets me through in time. But in the end, it was this absolute unit of a major, fearlessly dangling off the edge of the Dragantula. My thanks go to this major. You carried us to victory. Before too much time has passed, I have finally answered the question. Yes, you can complete Empires of the Undergrowth without connecting tiles on Insane. Thank you for watching. It feels really good to have a challenge where the final level isn't a letdown, but actually really difficult. Feel free to join the ICS Discord, link in the description. I apologize that this video took so long, but the next video may take even longer. Have a lovely day.